A system design interview is rarely checking whether you memorize two definitions. It's checking whether you can name the one operational property that forces a choice. Durability, execution duration, replay, recall, causal diagnosis. The reframe that unlocks it all. These famous pairs aren't comparisons, they're contracts. 1. Stateless versus stateful. A stateless instance doesn't need its own memory of past requests. Any replica can take the call. A stateful component owns evolving information that participates in correctness, a workflow cursor, a leader lease, and replacing it means restore or replay. Here's the subtlety. User login doesn't make your server stateful. If the session lives in a shared store, every replica can validate. But a worker depending on an unreplicated in-memory cursor is stateful in the way that matters. 2. Lambda versus ECs. Lambda runs a function per event, and each invocation must assume its local memory can vanish. It shines for bursty work, capped at 15 minutes. ECs runs long-lived containers for steady APIs and anything that keeps listening. 3. Database versus cache. The database is the system of record, owning transactions and the recovery log. A cache is a derived copy optimized for latency. The litmus test: if losing Redis loses the only copy of an order, Redis was a database, whatever the diagram called it. 4. Queue versus stream. A queue is work waiting for an owner. Workers leave a message, act success, retry failure. Standard queues are at least once, so workers must be idempotent. A stream is an ordered event history, retained for a window, where consumers track their own offsets and replay. So one worker pool owning each job, that's a queue. Several apps replaying last week's events after a fix, that's a stream. 5. Retrieval versus reranking. Retrieval scans millions of chunks cheaply, optimizing recall, getting the useful document into the top 100. Reranking spends a richer model on only those 100, reading query and document jointly, lifting precision at the top. And measure the stages separately, because if the goal document is not retrieved, no reranker can recover it. 6. Monitoring versus tracing. Monitoring aggregates metrics across time, telling you whether a population is unhealthy and driving alerts. Tracing follows one request as a tree of spans, telling you where it spent time or failed. So monitor pages because P95 crossed the line. Then a trace ID picks one slow request and reveals 2.4 seconds in the re-ranker. Now watch all 6 live in one document enrichment pipeline. A stateless API writes job state to a database. A Lambda validates small events. An ECS worker handles long OCR jobs. A queue assigns each document to one worker. A stream preserves lifecycle events for audit. A cache holds repeated lookups but never owns the truth. Retrieval finds 100 passages. Re-ranking selects 5. Monitoring spots rising latency. Tracing locates the slow call. That's the lesson. Good architecture is almost never A instead of B everywhere. Each pair sits at a different boundary, and the same system usually needs both. Stop asking which is better. Start asking which property is being promised. The contract chooses for you.